Yo, what's up, everybody? What's up? Hello, happy Thursday. How's everybody doing? It's good to see you guys. Good to be with you here another Thursday. Ready to get started, ready to design a little bit more today, ready to be creative. Are you guys ready to be creative as well? It's good to see y'all. It's good to see you, Idara, on the chat. What's up, Arif? What's up, Lucas? It's great to see you. What's up, Frank? It's great to see you as well. Drew, what's up? It's good to see you. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate it. It's another Thursday, another opportunity to create something new together. And what we're going to be doing today is that we're going to be kind of like putting in a little bit more of these good shadows, textures, things like that into what we did last week. We had a lot of fun last week creating that poster image that we created. I'm going to share it with you guys in a second so you can see what I'm talking about if you weren't here last week. But we're going to go in and create a little bit more of that. Yeah, it's great to see you guys. Good to have you here. And it's always exciting to be able to create something else running today. Talking to a friend of mine, I was talking to him about how good it is to be able to just create, right? Sit down, create without having any sort of like thing that is telling you what to do. You're just sitting down and making something new, and it's really a good opportunity. If you guys want to show your work and share with us, you can go to Discord and share it there. I know Idara is going to probably share the link in a second. Also, you can follow me on Instagram at Magdiel Lopez. Here it is. I'm going to show it to you guys in a second. Let me switch over here to my screen. This is me on Instagram without a hat on my profile picture. But you guys can follow me here. I share my work here. And today we're going to be going from what we did last week. We did a little bit of this right here. And we're going to be going into adding shadows, adding textures, adding different things, which is basic layering and masking. It's going to be pretty fun and easy to follow, but it might give you guys some ideas on how to duplicate or do some of these things yourself, which I think are always very fun to do and very fun to create. Similar to some of the work that I do, like for example, this one that we created also during the show, this one over here that has different shadows and different things. I'm going to talk about the earrings. Don't let me forget that. And doing a little bit of like compositing within that. My compositing work is not, as you guys know, sticking to reality. It's more about adding a little bit of emotion, a little bit of like something cool and colors and things like that. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So be ready for what we got going on. First, we're going to go into Discord and check out some of the work from you guys this week and what you guys shared this week. What's up, Ted? It's good to see you on the chat, my friend. Welcome in. We're going to be going into this and checking it out. Like I said before, last week we came up with this. We went from sketch, which here's the sketch. Let me show you guys how bad this sketch was. This was the sketch last week. And we went from like doing this sketch right here. Let me group it up real quick. Over here like this, and then we took it into Illustrator, came up with all these shapes, and now we have these shapes ready to be putting in some things into it. So that's going to be really fun. But now before we look at your work, we have the first work here from Lucas. Really cool work as usual, my friend. This is awesome. I love how powerful this image feels and looks, and how like it's, the back side of it is really kind of like the center of the show, right? And you have the shadow on the front that is easy to see, but at the same time is hidden. I love the white dots on the earrings. I love how much the font comes out. I love this element down here. This is a masterful artwork, Lucas. Thank you for sharing with us. So good. And I love the little animation too with the different colors. Here's a static image and here's an animation. Amazing work, man. Fantastic. I love the little grid on the background. Man, super cool. I don't think there's any single thing that I would change about this artwork. You guys know how I normally like to give a little bit of feedback on what you guys are doing, but I don't have any feedback for this one. This one looks amazing, and I always try to give feedback on the things that I can give feedback. Obviously, art is art, and you guys can do whatever you want. But this is like tastefully done from a composition standpoint to how much it kind of like it feels good. It just feels amazing. Even to the shadow, you add a little bit of shadow here behind the subject. I feel like it's amazing, man. Great job, Luca. Amazing work. So one amazing work from Lucas. We got some work from Arif as well. like doing this idea of like making these two images come alive together. Let me look at the two images separately, and then seeing them coming together and what you did here. And I feel like it's really cool, man. That's an amazing work of like combining these two different styles. It looks like you used a little bit of AI. Let me see if I can read the proof image. Mine to the right, the follow. Okay, so it looks like you did a little bit of AI to bring this thing together and then added some layering to it. Looks amazing. We've seen you grow, Arif. So cool that you're doing these things and stepping up your game and what you're doing, and we all can see it. So great work. Hence for Arif as well. I see you in the chat. What's up, Marsha? It's good to see you in the chat as well. If I can critique one thing, will be to add a little bit more contrast on the background. Your foreground is pink and blue, and then you have a pink and blue background. It doesn't look bad. It looks amazing. But if you do the dramatic, like, you know, almost like how dramatic the front and the back is on this artwork, we can learn, you and me both can learn that, you know, a little bit of contrast sometimes, it just adds a little bit more of that kind of like wow moment when you're looking at artwork. So maybe you can make a version that's dark on the back, and maybe there's a light on the bottom of it, and that would look super cool. That's the only thing that I can think of to next level this, but amazing work, Arif. Fantastic. Amazing glitch effect. And I see, you know, some of the people here giving feedback. I love that. I see that this is something that you guys are doing every week, and I love seeing how you guys are interacting with each other. So if you're out there, you're watching the show right now, and you've never posted to this community, and you have some work that you're not, you know, sure about or whatever, we're all on the journey of growing as designers, and we're all on the journey of growing as creators. So go ahead and share your work. Don't be fearful of that. We're all going to take it, and we're going to love it. Wherever you are on your journey, we love to see it, and we'll love to share with you, and even give you some comments, or like, you know, help you improve what you're doing and share things with each other. So amazing work. I'm liking both of these. They're so great. Thank you for sharing, guys. Thank you for, you know, sharing all this with the community. Let's jump into what we are doing this week. Bobby, what's up? It's good to see you, man. What's up? Bobby's a great friend of mine, amazing designer, and I'm so happy that you're here watching us today, man. Okay, so we're creating something like this, right? We're doing, let me show you guys some of the details on this work, and just even a reminder for me into what we're doing. I always say this, and I'm going to say it again, but when I do these things, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm jumping in and doing them live, so you guys can see what I'm doing as I do it, and hopefully learn something, or even tell me, hey, there's a better way to do that, or share with me some ideas that you have. So I'd love to hear those on the comments if you guys are around and want to do that. But yeah, that's what we're doing. We're creating this kind of messy look. We've done this in the show a little bit before, but I want to go a little bit more overboard and really accentuate it with all the different things that we have on this artwork that we can really utilize to make it pretty amazing and colorful and full of textures and different things, right? So I'm going to start adding textures to some of these first, and then we'll go from there, right? We'll add some photography as well. We're probably going to add some lettering, some type. Everything's going to be kind of messy looking, and maybe a good thing to do is to have a reference image of what I'm trying to duplicate, which is this work that I did before. I have some cartoon references on my work as well down here. Just for you guys that don't know, these are from a Russian cartoon that I used to watch when I was back in Cuba. Really old cartoons that are like kind of creepy but beautiful in a way. Some of these earrings, I got them from this website. We've talked about this in the show. It's Public Works. It's from Cosmo. And it's literally any image in here you can use for your designs and incorporate them into your design. So I saw these earrings over here that I have over here on this website, and I really liked them. They're not earrings here. They're like a seal or stamp. I don't know what they are. And I took it from here, and then I added it to my photo. So this is a great website to, you know, hunt for those elements that feel a little bit more crafted, handmade. The cool thing about it too is that if you see something like this that you like, you can click on it, and you can just see different things with it. One cool thing about it too is that these elements are public domain, so that means that you can use them freely for whatever you want. Whether you want to make a t-shirt and print it and sell it, or whatever you want to do with it, you can do it. They belong to everybody. They're like, you know, sourced from libraries and things like that, so you can use them for whatever content you want. I'm not sure about this next statement that I'm going to give, but I feel like you can even put them into AI and do things with AI on top of the images because they're free domain, right? So it's super cool to see that. This is ultra cool style. Love seeing the process. Thank you so much. Sharma, is that your name? Am I saying that right? But thank you so much. Yeah, we'll be doing a little bit of that process, and part of the process is this. It's kind of like figuring out like some textures, right? Like for example, this one. It's a cool texture. I'm not sure if I want the color, but I can take the texture and let's start layering it into what I'm doing without thinking about it too much, right? We're gonna start like putting things in and seeing how it works. We have established color palette that we did last week, and now it just takes a little bit of time to like start sourcing some materials on some things, right? For example, this one I like it. I'm gonna use a blending mode here. Let's see, maybe linear, maybe difference. We can see what we like. And we really want that kind of crunchy look, right? We're going to start adding things that are like, let's start like breaking down how clean this looks. It looks too clean. Also, it doesn't have any shadows, things like that, which also add a level of like intensity to the whole piece. Another thing that I like to do with this is to apply on top of the texture, going down here and then applying a gradient map. You can find it down here on the effects tab, I think is what it's called, or mask tabs, and then add the gradient map, and then we're gonna mask that into the bottom layer. The way you do that is that you press Option on Mac, I think it's Command on PC, and then you put your mouth between the two, and boom, you can mask it in there, right? What's up, Jenny? It's good to see you. Good to have you in the chat. And now you can change the two values here. From anything that's on the left here is going to be your shadows. Anything that's on the right is going to be your highlights. So if you want all the highlights to be blue, you change this to blue. It's pretty easy to use. Something that if you're getting started in Photoshop will be a super cool thing. And then the midtones, if I want the midtones to be pink, they can be. This image is pretty much black and white. So you don't get a lot of like midtones on it. But if I condense it like this, you can see how it starts showing a little bit more. So it's a cool thing to do. And yeah, sometimes it's good to have even if it's your own image as a reference of what you're doing, so you don't forget kind of like where your North Star is, right? Another thing that we're gonna start doing. So what I'm gonna do is I'm probably gonna do an element on the right and an element on the left, so that I can keep things going back and forth and balance as I go. It's another tip that I will give you, especially in working things with things like this that can be pretty messy. You want to make sure that you're keeping a balance on the whole thing, right? So if I put an element here that's pretty heavy on the blacks, I'm probably going to do an element here that's pretty heavy on the blacks as well, so that, you know, it kind of balances the two pieces together. In this case, it's going to do this right here. And then let's go ahead and do a gradient map on this one as well. And then I'm going to soften that maybe like that. Let's see, maybe a little bit darker. Yeah, so it's as simple as that. Simple as like you starting to create a little bit more. Maybe you want to pick some colors from the colors that you have. I can't even remember what color was underneath this. I think it was blue and green, but we can even do that. We can even do blue and green, so we can stay within the colors of the artwork. And then another thing that we're going to be doing to all of these layers, which is going to take a while, is to create a new mask or a new layer mask in there, and then grab a brush, make it black, and then always flow down, and then opacity up. So you want opacity at 100% and flow down to maybe 30%, maybe even less, because that's going to help it to when you paint, you're not painting totally solid black, but you're able to like layer as you want the colors to be. So you can see here how much softer this shadow looks. It looks like it's tucking in, and it looks really nice. So that's what we want to do with everything, right? So let me do it on the layer right on top of that one, so you can see. Maybe we can even copy the same layer and put it on top of it, and the shadow is going to match there. And then if we erase the bottom of that line, kind of like this, then it's going to add a lot more realism to it. Or, you know, it's going to make it look like it's really ending right there, right? So all these shadows and things like that is about subtleties and keeping things simple. Something that, you know, our friend Ted, he's here in the chat, I saw him a second ago, is really good at his work. Just making enough change to the artwork where it gives you the illusion of what you're seeing, but without making it overboard. That it's pretty obvious. Here I wanna make it a V shape of shadow, so it looks like it's pointy in the middle, right? So I'm gonna do this like this. I'm gonna make it soft as I can, and I'm gonna do the same thing on this side because I want to make it seem like this is pulling out from here a little bit. And the cool thing is that we have the eraser, right? We can go in and just erase a little bit. So a lot of these processes actually sort of like painting, right? I'm using my mouse here. You can use a Wacom tablet. You can use whatever you want. Make it yours. In this case, even drawing with my mouse is cool because like I can add a little bit to it of my own kind of messy handwriting and all that, which I'm going to do right now, by the way. You're still here, Ted. That's great. Great to see you here, bro. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. Okay, so I wrote here, haters will say is AI on the top of this artwork. I need a little phrase like this for this artwork. Last week I had something that I had written down, but I can't remember what it was. I'm just going to type part of the process, not type it. I'm going to write it. It's going to be pretty messy, but I think it's going to be, for this, I want the flow to be at 100%. And then I want to make it messy like this. It's part of, that's not up off, huh? I forgot how to do the F on cursive. Of the process. My friend Bobby, who is here, is a double C for process? I can't remember how to spell process. Let me look that up online. My friend Bobby, who is here on the chat, is a great CESS. Every time I do this, I go to Google. I don't know if it happens to you guys. I did it right. Every time I go in and I look for things, I type them the right way on Google, and then I'm like, okay, I was right about it. I don't know why I was so hesitant about it. But I guess what I was trying to say here is that I want this kind of effect over here, so I'm going to do that. I remember I was talking about Bobby. So Bobby's is a hand lettering guy. He's amazing at his craft. And he must be rolling right now. If he's still watching, you must be rolling in, like you must be dying right now seeing me doing this. This is a T, so it needs a little part. Yeah, so Bobby's probably dying right now seeing me write this. But it's part of what I do. It's part of the style of what I do. And I like to keep it kind of messy like this. One thing that I do is that I do a selection on that type that I do. I go select, then modify, and then contract. So it's going to move this selection in a tiny bit. Let's try 5 pixels for now and see what that does. And then what I do is that I delete that again. So it's a way to really kind of make it a tiny bit like more textural, to feel a little bit more like a texture. So I'm going to run it again. And then when you delete it, sometimes it leaves these kind of marks that feel really cool. And yeah, it's part of like what I like to do on this style that I do. I can even duplicate it, and that might look cool, and do a color overlay on that. I feel like this is one of those days that I'm going to get lost, because this is part of like what I love the most about doing my work. This is what I love to do most about my work, is just to do this part where I'm like adding textures, doing different things like this. So if I'm doing that, time flies by, and I want to make sure that I don't run out of time very quickly without finishing a lot of the things. All right, here I want to do a little shadow. So I'm going to bring my flow down again, and I'm going to go into my shadows layer. In fact, I should probably do another layer on top of that. And you got to tackle each one of these things almost as if you are kind of like creating a new little thing for each one of these. You want its own little world inside of each one of these texture thingies. so that you really have, you know, something cool where it's like all these different layers happening, all these different things. In fact, here you see how this shadow doesn't feel very good because it's not pointy here. Shadows get closer as the object gets closer to the other object. So I want it to be more closer up here, so it looks like it's opening towards the bottom, sort of like this. And I want to erase a little bit of that shadow. I think that works. Sweet. Another thing that I want to add here is probably a texture. So let me go ahead and let's go back into Public Works. And I'm going to add another texture to this. I'm trying to think of what the texture should be like. The cool thing about this website, and also the bad thing about it, is it needs an apostrophe. Where? Sasha's saying that. You see, I always get people like you guys on the comments that are so good at grammar. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, guys. Forgive me. So hopefully you guys have a little bit of patience with me. Where's the comma? Where's the apostrophe? I mean, it's, oh yeah, and it's part of the, right? That's what it needs, right? It's, I'm sorry, all the grammar people out there. You know, I know I'm messing this up. Okay, so I'm gonna click open on this one. Yeah. And I'm gonna copy this image. I like the little lines, the white lines. Let's see how they look over here. And yeah, all I'm doing here, guys, is pretty self-explanatory, I guess. It's like adding different textures. Sometimes I'm gonna use them as they are, because I feel like they're cool and they could add a little bit to it. Some of the times I'm gonna do a color overlay, and sometimes it's not gonna work. I feel like sometimes it's gonna be like, that didn't work there. In this case, it's a subtle thing like that. It's kind of pixelated too, which I don't love. Especially if you want to print this. I'm gonna leave it for now. Instead of going through the whole process of like making it bigger and all of that, I'm gonna leave it like that. And then another thing that I'm gonna do is that this red on the background of this is not looking great. So I'm gonna switch it to blue. I don't know if you guys can see that subtle change over here behind this text. But yeah, we're adding a little bit more of like grunge to the whole image. Let's add here a little brush. And I'm gonna pick this red color up here, and then I'm gonna go to my brushes and just layering a little bit of like, yeah, brushes into it. I was trying to see if this is what I want. Yeah, this is exactly what I want here. And I get this question sometimes. Hey, what's up? I get this question sometimes of how do I know what to add where, right? That's a really hard question to answer because sometimes you know what you want to add and why you want to add it. Some of the times it just feels right. Like, for instance, this here feels good. It feels like it's balancing some of what's happening up here. More than anything, it's about balance, right? You're adding balance. You're taking away a little bit of balance here and there. And you're trying to be as good as possible with the way you're adding balance to these things. And keeping it, you know, one thing is balance. Another thing is also how much you want the messaging to be seen or heard. If you have a messaging that goes with the artwork. In this case, I'm just being creative, right? I'm trying to make it look pretty and like tying things up slowly, coming up with different things. Kind of inspired by this artwork. And I keep looking back at this, right? And some of the things, what are some of the things that are here that I can imitate or I can redo? Like, for example, I just looked at one that I can do here. I can do a stroke inside of this texture and make it black and then make it really small. And that gives it even more of a messy look. You see that? To this texture that I think helps. And then I want to balance it by doing one here. So I'm going up to this layer over here. And I'm sorry I'm designing so small, but I'm trying to also see the whole picture at the same time that I'm making things. Is the only way that makes sense. So something like this over here. Feel like it goes well. Maybe not black. We'll change it from black. I'm looking at composition first and then switching it up from, so that whole thing was purple there. So maybe something like this. So it's not something that is screaming texture. It's more subtle, but at the same time, you can kind of see there's a change, right? Happening there. So let me go ahead and add a shadow to it. So I'm going to add a shadow to the same layer. I want to remember every layer that I work on to add a shadow, 2, maybe a highlight if I need to. In this case, I don't know how much I want the shadow to like kind of be evident. Sometimes also what I do is that I do it with a hard brush like this, which doesn't really work unless you go over it, kind of like that. And then I go into filter, blur, motion, Gaussian blur, and I just add a little bit of that. Pretty simple. I feel like this is like, we all know how to do these things. And then opacity down a little bit. Yeah, so we're trying to create some depth here. I think some paint splatter things would be really cool to make it a little bit more messy. So let me go into this, our library that we're searching from, and let's look for, you got to be careful with this website because if you click on another thing, you can go, you can get taken into their Cosmos website, which is like a Pinterest version. And you want to make sure that you don't, that you don't accidentally land on something that is not free to use and you end up using it. But for example, like here, there's a lot of, I just typed paint, and there's a lot of different things that you can see here that are going to be very useful to put into some work. For example, looking at this painting right here and seeing how many details this has. So let's try it out. I don't know if it's going to work with the color or even the styling of it, but we can try it out. Why not? Maybe we'll do it in this layer over here. We'll drop it in. So this is in this layer down here. Obviously, I don't want it to be super evident or in its original color. So one thing that I think about is like before adding color or like even effect to it, it's like how the texture is being placed in the space, right? So in this case, there's this darkness happening down here that I can maybe line up with this curve, and it's going to help the effect of roundedness that this has already. So I want this kind of like be able to do this little happy accident and do that. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to apply a I forgot the name of this. It's a pink light effect, but it's I forgot what these are called. I just said it a second ago. Anyways, one of those into the effect that I'm doing for this. And yeah, and like, you know, like usual, this helps me like blend it into blending mode is what it's called. Blend it into, there you go. Thank you, Dara. Into the picture a little bit more. Another way to blend it into the picture more is like to, again, I'm talking so much to this, I'm not moving fast enough to finish this whole thing. But if we don't finish today, you'll see it on my Instagram. I'll post it in a few days. But hopefully we get finished. I'm gonna start adding photography in a second here. So another thing that you can do is select by color range, something that I like to do to you when I'm adding texture. You select by color range. You go to selection, color range, and then you can pick the few colors, or you can go greens, and it picks all of the greens. At least it tries to. Or you can go midtones or highlights or shadows, and then you're able to pick some of those, right? So let's try to pick up some of the shadows because I feel like it's going to pick up some of these darker colors. And then you can click on mask, and it'll make a mask inside of that. And all of a sudden you have this cool texture of like, kind of like painting effect that you can apply to some of these things. The cool thing about this too is that you can click on selection and then go color range again. And then whatever selection you made on top of this is probably going to apply it to the shadow. I said probably because I've done this before where I'm like, yeah, you see how it's applying it live to the mask. I've done it before where I say that live and then it doesn't do it because I'm not, on the right layer. But yeah, you can do it here, and then whatever effect you pick, you click OK, and it's going to be, you see, it didn't do it again. Sometimes it applies it to the mask and sometimes it doesn't. I don't know what the difference is. But if you go to color range and you have a mask already, it's supposed to be applying it in the same thing. And if it doesn't do it, you can always add it here like you would normally. Let me see what I'm picking. yeah, it just picked a lot of different things together, but this works for what I'm talking about, and I can add it into my layer. So let's go ahead and add it to the layer that we had down here, and then it's on normal right now, but you can see how much more is blending into the picture. So let's keep it like that for now. I don't know if I love that effect actually. I want probably a more messy look. So let's add a normal brush, but I think it's good to run you guys through what that would look like. But there's a lot of back and forth on this process of like coming up with these textures and how you come up with them. And one thing that is important is to think about the center figure, right? So you want the face to still be the center of attention. So even when I'm making this quote unquote pattern here that I'm drawing it like going into the face, right? So that people are pointed into the face the whole time. And then we're gonna add our shadows to this layer as well, because we didn't do it before. So let me pick shadows over here, switch to soft, and then we're gonna do some shadows over here. Yeah, this brings a lot of separation between the top layers and the bottom layers. So that's exactly what we want and what we need. Perfect. We can also get a little creative and do some colors on top of the shadows, and that makes it look like there's a light behind that. You see that? You have shadow and then a little bit of color, and it makes it look like there's a light. You can also change it to distort and dissolve, and that's something that I do a lot, and it makes it look like there's a graffiti in it. So something else that we'll probably do a little bit of in a new one of these segments. Maybe on this one up here, we'll add a little bit of this. You don't want to think about it too much, to be honest. You want to look for balance and look for ways to make it exciting and cool and build it up. So I'm gonna be moving a little faster in these next 20 minutes or so, adding a lot more layers, a lot faster, and then maybe throwing images on top of it. So I'm gonna start with this one's up here. I definitely want to add a pixelation effect somewhere, and I'm gonna explain what that means in 1 second. Inside of this one's over here as well. I don't know if that or this would be better. Maybe this. Yeah, I'm gonna do it on this one as well. The question here is, should I keep it that color or should I do it red? I think red looks cool. And then the flow here is what's making it transparent like that. So if you bring the flow up, it's gonna make a solid in the middle, which is probably what I want for this. This was not looking that hot because I cannot draw on that side of the screen. It's more natural to draw out like this. So I'm gonna do it that way. I don't know if you guys watch a lot of like live videos or YouTube videos on drawing. Something that the drawing in the computer is like repeating the same motion a lot of times until you get what you want. One thing that I like doing is like going again, making a selection of it. So I just press Command and click on it, make a selection, go to modify, contract. I'm sorry, and then contract that even more, and then do another layer and draw inside of that contraction, and that's going to make it super cool. Check it out. I'll show you guys in 1 second here. Yeah, so now we have a layer inside of that layer that we can add more texture to. It looks like this. That's another one of the textures that I usually do on my work that feel really cool. I use the brush tool a lot and put into dissolve blend mode. I learned from you and making strokes, and really cool, especially when transforming everything into a small object. Yeah, smart object. Yeah, so you can transform this whole thing. That's really cool. That was Lucas in the chat saying that. Yeah, that's the way to do it. One thing that I like doing too is like going back into some of these darker ones, right? And like I'm trying to see how we can make it more exciting, more full of life. Sometimes it's like that, and then sometimes like softer, a little bit on top. We can also make a selection of this. See what this looks like if we go Do the same thing, contract. It's contracted by 10 as well. And sometimes it's barely a selection there when you contract it. But you can always paint a little bit on top of it. And yeah, it kind of shows this kind of like broken kind of styling that I like to do. And then we can apply, we didn't apply shadow to this one. Let's apply shadow. But let's do it on the dissolve mode. It's a lot more textural. And then we can really, you can start seeing how much of a difference it makes to make this huge shadow here. Like it makes it pop out. One thing that we have to do is that we also have to add some shadow in our model's face because she's kind of floating in this environment. So let's do that real quick before we get going. And I want the same thing. I want her face to be, this point over here is going to be the one that's going to be the flattest. And then everything else is going to be underneath that kind of like hood type deal. So I want to make it bigger and then I'm going to erase a little bit out of it. I feel like that's the best way to do it, at least for me. Making it big. On the cheekbone to be also almost coming out of it completely. And then again, shadows and things like this for me are not about being realistic. For me are about like making my point, getting my point across of like, you know, whatever I want the people to understand from the work and look at and make it as contrasty as possible. One thing that I can also do here is do a curved layer to the face and mess with that a little bit more just to make it a little brighter because everything else is brighter around the model. So I want to make sure that she is matching a little bit of the energy of these elements that are around her. I know the black shadow is very black and it needs to be toned down a tiny bit. So I'm about to do that right now. In a second, I just want to see how much I want this face to be blending in. Okay, perfect. I'm sorry, I think I got allergies. There's so many allergies going on here on I live in Texas and it feels like this winter is being delaying and finally we got things are falling out of the trees now, which is crazy because we are already in February. Doesn't make any sense, but it's happening right now. But like I said, let's go back into look how messy my layers are. This is like a blob of black. You can see it here in my layer on top, and it doesn't really matter. You can make things however you want to make them, and however you want to make them look, especially for things like this that are fun and you're just working your way through it. Like I said, this looks too dark over here, so I want to go ahead and go back into it and delete. I'm like refining a little bit more. I want this shadow over here to be a little bit better. I want this shadow over here to be a little bit better in the face. Yeah, so we're deleting a little bit, and the flow, going down with the flow is essential here. Yeah, because you see, it makes it look like a real shadow. Some areas are darker, some areas are a little lighter. There's still something about how sharp this edge is that doesn't look good. But I will edit that in a little bit as part of the process of going through this. Yeah, let me add a little bit more shadows to this area down here. I feel like it needs to be a lot darker. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, so it's a matter of like balancing out things, adding more textures, adding more different things. And that's how you do it. Trata ABC says 0. What's up? It's good to see you in the chat. Welcome in. Okay, so I don't know if I love this green. Maybe I'll leave it. Maybe I won't leave it. We'll see. I'll leave it for now. I think part of this is like I want to move a little bit faster to try to get ahead a tiny bit more. There's this layer that's showing from the back that I don't want it to show, so I'm going to hide it. Maybe it's a good time to work on that layer. So that layer is the bottom one over here that's white. So I'm going to do the shadows on that one are going to be blue. So let me go ahead and apply those shadows. Should probably do it on dissolve so that it looks messy like that. It needs to be straight over here. Perfect. Straight over here. And this part up here, actually, I want to delete it. So one thing that when we copy our layers from Illustrator, it brought them as one of the things about copying layers. It brings them as not as smart objects. It brings them as just rasterized pixel layers, which is not great, especially for something like this. There's a way to bring the smart layers into it. I don't know why I didn't do it that way. Maybe I didn't pay attention when I was doing that last week. But you definitely want it to be on normal layers so you can start stacking things up. Or like moving, certain things that you need to move in order to just make it a little bit easier for you to work on certain things. Like if you need to move a smart, point here, it would be a lot easier if it's actually a smart object instead of erasing part of a layer. Okay, maybe it's time to look for another object to bring into our. Let me do this green one, and after that we'll go into the library again to look for something that we can bring in, because we definitely want to just bring a little bit more of like photography maybe into this, or something like that. That's what I'm thinking at least. For this, I want to copy this one and put it in here. I feel like it could be cool to make it like more like a texture, little bit bigger, and then add a little bit of color into it. Maybe blue. We'll see what blue looks like. Dissolve. Let me crank this up. And we're essentially doing the same thing, right? We're going over some of these layers, drawing things, trying to paint things out, adding a little bit of texture. One thing that we do want to keep is like, for example, this blue that I apply here is probably a mistake because it's blending too much into this background. And there's so much going on. You want to at least keep some of these things like evident, like they are on top of each other. One way to manage that is to make a copy of the same object right underneath it and just make it black, like something like that. And then you can mask that and then delete it a little bit to make it look like an artificial shadow. And that also lifts some of these things up and just makes it look like it's there, right? Let me go back to what I was doing in this. And a little bit of this creative process is like coming up with things on the spot, and sometimes I forget what I was doing. But pixelate mosaic, it's really cool because it does this pixelation effect that looks really cool, and I use it in a lot of my work as a texture. So here's another cool tip on what you can do with that and how you can use it. I'm going to leave it right in that position, and I'm going to color overlay it to be maybe black. Black is what it was, right? See it in a different color and then switch it if we want to switch it. If we want to leave it in that color. Yeah, I think I like red a little bit. What do you guys think? I think red is looking cool. I can duplicate it. Duplicate it again. I'm not going to duplicate it anymore. I'm going to leave it right there. Okay. I think that works. I am going to change this blue to a different color. So let me go hue saturation. One good thing that you can do sometimes, if you don't know which color you want to pick, if you don't know what's going to look good, you can go to hue saturation, move it around a little bit, see what looks good. Even if you want to add a little bit more white, like in this case, I do. Perfect. And then going back to this, do I leave it red? Do I make it blue? Let's make it blue or like green or whatever that is. This layer over here is looking a little dead. Let's add a little bit of shadow into it. So it's good to do that. Man, just like that, like time flies when I'm doing this show. And when I'm doing this, especially this part of the creative process, I just love so much to do this. Like this part, it's like entertaining for me. It's like fun. Hopefully it is for you guys as well. And this is the part that I love the most. What we did last week of putting together the composition, it's a little bit more of tedious work in my opinion, because you're getting to create, but you are also like having to do a lot of the same things. Which you could argue this is doing a lot of the same things too. But at the same time, it's like this part is like I'm adding textures, I'm creating a little bit more. I just feel like it's just fun to play around with this part of the creative process. It's just so much fun. So man, I don't know what to do in this one. Maybe something like this. Maybe some type. I do want to add some type to some of these things. So maybe we pull something up, and in fact, I'm gonna add Lucas' comment that he added to the chat. That's what I'm gonna add in here. I'm gonna make a box, and I'm gonna paste his comment, and there it is forever, Lucas. I use the brush a lot, and I used to put it on dissolve blending mode. Okay, I just put your comment in there because I didn't want to spend time typing something out. Let me see if I like that font or if I want something else. This was the font that I was working with for another project that I was doing earlier today, Satoshi. We can make a regular. One font that I use a lot on my work is Swift. Where is it? Swift? Not Swister, the other one. Another huge issue that I have is names, guys. Forgetting names of things all the time. Swiss. I think Swiss is the font, but I cannot find it. Clear all. Back into all my fonts. Where are my fonts at? All fonts. I don't know why it's not finding it. Swister is kind of similar, so I'll leave that. It's kind of like an Arial type of font. Helvetica type of font, which I love. I love to do. Immortalizing one of Magdiel's artworks. That's funny. Yeah, you're in there, where you are. I might pixelate this in a second, but you'll know what it is. So yeah, this is something that I like to do too. It's like adding a little bit of text sometimes into some of the things. I feel like it adds a little bit. Also, I'm gonna add a little bit of color down here. You see how this area over here is getting messy because the green and this green is kind of getting together. So I'm gonna separate it by adding a little bit of red right there, and that does it. This stroke I'm not loving, so I'm gonna switch it to maybe white or even blue. Let's see what looks good. Trying to keep a consistency into what I'm doing. A little bit of a consistency. Yeah, a lot of the work that I do doesn't have any constraint really. It's just me exploring and doing. There's some other projects that I get to exercise constraint a little bit more. Like I get to think about what I'm doing. I get to spend a little bit more time holding back, right? And I feel like that's very essential in design, especially in graphic design. It's a lot about how much you hold back versus how much you put into it. Especially is a great tip for beginners. Like if you are struggling on graphic design, to look cleaner, to look nicer, maybe you're doing too much inside of the artwork that you're working on. And it's hilarious that I'm saying that, and look at this work that I'm doing. It's insane. But what I mean for other artworks, and maybe even for this one a tiny bit, is that I'm implementing certain things, but I'm also keeping an overall tone that feels cohesive, right? There's nothing here that's like out of the element. And if I do make something that's out of the element, I try to support it with something else in the artwork somewhere else, right? That is supporting that. We've talked about that. How do you make something that is not isolated on the work? Like if I have text here, I have to have text somewhere else in the work. Again, there needs to be another layer with text somewhere else. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. I'm going to bring this all the way down to this layer, and I'm going to make another copy of this and put it over here, because you need to balance things out, right? You have to, if you have it over here, you need to have it somewhere else in the artwork, and that grounds it. That makes it to where it's like, okay, I see that element is being repeated. It's not like a random element that happened because you needed to fill up a gap or something like that. So we might change the color of these in a second, but I hope that kind of like helps understanding kind of like the thought process behind that. Okay, let me think about what else. We were going to go find other textures that feel more like photography driven to add to this. I feel like that is a good thing that we need to do. The other good thing that we need to do, before I forget, I'm going to do it on this layer over here, is to add more brush that feels a little bit more messy. Yeah, I feel like that is very much needed on these, like things that feel like way more messy or unintentional, I guess is what I'm trying to do. Okay. Yeah, because one thing that could start happening is that what you're doing just feels like too much, like it's repeating itself too much, right? So you want to add an element of that. Another thing that I want to do is that I want to ground this work a little bit more, and because it's becoming a little darker on top, it's also happening on like the bottom is floating way too much. So let me add a shadow to this just for my own sake of like not going crazy. I'm going to add a shadow to this layer. I'm going to go dissolve again, and I'm going to add I have the wrong layer. I want to soft brush and then dissolve, and am I doing it? I am doing it, but the color is very similar. Yeah, black, like this. Perfect. So I'm adding a little bit of shadow, and then maybe I'm going to add a little bit of like this kind of messiness down here. Maybe a little bit of blue to highlight some of the areas. Some of this blue maybe. The combination of blue and black is always, to me, is always feels so much like it's glowing. I had a friend that was asking me yesterday how I make the work look like it's glowing. And it's a contrast on the bottom, and then a little bit of like quote unquote light on the top. And then if you add white to the edge of that, it just makes it look like, if you look at it from a distance, it looks like it's a gradient of light. Okay, nothing out of the ordinary here, guys. It's all stuff but stuff that looks cool when all your lights put together like this. This is breaking the software a little bit. It's not really breaking the software, but sometimes when you use the dissolve brush, I don't know if you guys have had this issue, and you do layers like this, it just kind of messes it up if you draw a soft brush on top of it. So I'm going to go contract again, and I'm going to do something bigger, something like, the colors on the outfit look great. Thank you so much, Lucas. Appreciate it. I'm going to go 50 on this, and then let's do another layer on top. And draw some of it like that. Don't like that. Actually hate it. The 50 was too much. So I'm doing the same thing. Selection, and then select, color range. I'm going to do 10. See what that looks like, what it feels like. And I'm going to do a little bit of this on top. See what it feels like. A little bit of it. I'm sorry about all the lines. Oh no, I made it in the same layer. I definitely do want to start another layer for this. I'm doing a little bit of what I did before. So it's like, perfect. Just like that. I feel like it's good. I don't know if the background, I'm trying to like finish the overall idea as quickly as I can, so we don't stay so behind on this. Okay. Perfect. This shadow is looking more like the thing is going in instead of going out. So this element needs to change to a brighter color than this background. Maybe like this. Okay, I'm gonna leave it like that for now. Okay. Let me see. With and without. That's good. Okay. Another photography element. Let's add a photography element. For best part of finishing the artwork is when you go in and do camera raw filter at the end. We're going to do that in a second here. I feel like that is what this needs, just to bring it all together. If you want to do that effect without having to actually do this effect, and we're definitely not going to finish this today. Obviously, we're running out of time. We're only 5 minutes away. What's up, Jonathan? Good to see you, bro. It's great to see you in the chat, man. Welcome in. Jonathan, great friend of mine. Thank you for visiting us today, and thank you for hanging out. Okay, where was I going with that? Okay, one thing to do, Lucas, if you want to get the feel for the camera raw filter without doing it, there's a new thing that Photoshop just came out with that I don't even know how to use, so I'm not going to attempt to use it here, but I'm going to do some more research and do it next week. But one thing that I like to do sometimes is that I like to go into color balance, and you adding a color balance here, you can see already how much this brings the whole thing together, and just adds a little bit more to it, right? which is super cool. That is one of the things that you can do. The other thing that you can do is adding, curves effect and all of that. So in other words, I'm trying to do what Camera Raw Filter would do, but before I get to the end, just to see how things are looking and they're feeling. So that would be a good thing to do. I'm not done with this artwork at all. Like I'm not even, I feel like I'm not even close. It's getting there, but it's too clean. You see the edges way too much. So it has so much more work that needs to happen here. Part of the work is outside of this silhouette. I want to create a little bit more of like breaking down a tiny bit more what's happening and all of that. So I want to make sure that I do that. I might break my computer here using this brush like this big. But yeah, maybe I want to do some of that. Maybe I want to do that on the top. Maybe I'll throw this on the top and then I'll do some layering where it's like outside of all of these. I feel like it's missing some of those strokes like that are like kind of like not random, but they're on top of everything that's happening. I feel like we need a little bit of that, so that's gonna go into it for sure. And yeah, just messing with it a little bit more, being a little bit more intentional. Bringing photography in, that's what I was about to do over here, and then I got distracted. But bringing an element of photography into it would be good too. Lucas said lookup table 2. Lookup table. I don't do that one too much. I need to do some research on that one as well. Is that the new thing? That's not the new thing, right? Try the white background. I'll put it on in a second just to see what that feels like. Just to see if a white background would add a little bit more to it, or if it would take from it. We're 3 minutes away. We're about to be done. I was hoping to really like be able to finish this today, but sometimes with these works that are like this many layers and this intense, you can spend so much time just doing one thing, or like perfecting this thing. As you can see, this is not even there yet. It's like so far away. It needs so much more work. I do like this, Lucas. I feel like this would be a good way to do it, especially if we make the top of it a little bit darker, especially on this edge. We need to keep the silhouette, right? We talked about that a lot. It's like, hey, how do you keep a silhouette that feels like when you're looking at something, it just you're seeing what it is completely, right? Lots is lookup table. Okay, cool. So it's like lots on the is the thing that you add to it. So I'm gonna do some more research on the new thing that I'm talking about. I think it's something that just literally came out last week that maybe we can share next week. I saw Paul Trani using it on his Instagram. So maybe it's something that we can look into and see what the new thing is with that. I feel like that will be a good thing to learn. And probably won't be doing the same artwork next week. I'll probably be doing something new. Maybe we'll spin the wheel. Maybe we come up with a branding on the fly, which is always exciting. But we'll be doing something for sure next Thursday, creating something new, making something amazing. So if you guys want to come join us next week as well, feel free to do it. I'll be here same time every Thursday, 3 Central Standard Time, 1 Pacific, 2 on the East Coast, and I don't know where else you guys are at, but anywhere that you guys are at. But yeah, thank you, Jenny. I appreciate it. Yeah, there's a couple things that I love, some other couple things that I'm like, I'm not so hot, so into it. But I feel like it's getting there, right? It's getting that progression, and I'll keep working on it. Absolutely. You're welcome, Lucas. You're welcome, Jenny. It's so great to see you guys. Thank you all for being here another week. I appreciate you all, and I'll be seeing you guys next week. Just like that, we ran out of time. Love you all. See ya.